obviously the governments hijacked the message, and now they're trying to tell everyone, it's like, oh yeah, we know how to solve it. We're going to just shuffle people from other places of the world. People who hate you, have nothing to do with you. We're just going to bring them in here and there's a problem solved, which is obviously lunacy, but I'll go to it a little bit later. But I look into the sustainability of population and everything, and what it basically means is if we want to continue our growth, right, we need to keep adding people, and it's, you name it, economy, pension, debt, GDP, all these things rely heavily on never-ending supply of new people. What do you call this kind of system? Well, if you do that in the financial world, you're going to end up in prison because you basically run a Ponzi scheme. So let's say this. Yes, in order for us to sustain the current system, to keep it going, to keep the music playing, so to say, we have to keep adding more people to the game. There's no other way around. But my question is, why is a whole planet need to be a taken prisoner for, doesn't matter cost, we just have to bring more people in order to keep this corrupt lie-based system from actually collapsing on its own? We've been conditioned, right, that the only thing matters in our lives, and I'm talking about individuals, as a collective, as a people, is growth, is progress. And yes, that makes sense. The problem is, it's that progress, we were told that progress happens based on lies. That progress will happen because value of property will increase. Therefore, the GDP grows up, or therefore countries can borrow more. They can spend more. It's a perpetual cycle of fake growth based on debt-based economy with very little actual value added on. Okay, and the only thing keeping it going is to keeping more people born. For example, your pension, right? You think you're paying money for your pension right now, but as you probably know, that money is already spent. So people actually living off pensions right now, they are heavily reliant or depending on the money paid in by people today. So the money you're paying in is going towards people taking that money now. Therefore, if you one day hopefully will be enough, lucky and old enough to actually get some sort of pension, you will need more people like you now. So 20 years later, they're going to have to work for your pension. Again, that is typical. That is a Ponzi scheme. It cannot work. So I was thinking about this quite long, and it's like, okay, there's no way Ponzi scheme can carry on forever. Like eventually it breaks. I think we're around that time when it comes to all our systems, right? And the population crisis might actually be a great catalyst to all this catharsis, so to say, right? So like clearing all this lunacy we built ourselves. But think about this. Everyone is screaming about population decline as a big problem. And of course, the governments with hijacked messages trying to send us, immigrations from all over the world telling us this is the case, this is the solution, which is a lunacy, because you can't bring people from one place to another place and call it a net positive, right? It's like you take one from here, put it one here, doesn't mean you make three. It's like one from one is still one here, right? It's like one together makes two, it's not three. So that doesn't solve anything. And obviously, people coming from other countries, particularly immigrants from cultures which are not similar to our cultures, they do not come here to start families, right? They don't come here and suddenly have lots of kids and it's just like we carry on. No. So that is an absolute lie from the government. They just hijack the message. But we are being told that the rapid tech development, AI particularly, is going to take most of our jobs very soon, right? We're being told like 5 years more, 2, 4, 5 years, and 50% of our jobs will be gone. So then, what about the population collapse crisis? Like, how is this relevant anymore? It almost feels like it's an actual solution, right? Think about this. Back in the day, the empires would, let's say, Dutch Empire was a relatively small country with, a few million people. And then the next empire came, I think, what was it, Portuguese or Spanish? They were slightly larger, a bit more population. Then UK, England came, a little bit larger, with a little bit more population. Then Americans came, still larger, with more population. They were like growing. That was the progress, the growth, right? The more people were there, the more workers you've had, the more you could actually build, grow, and progress as the country, as an empire, and just grow across the whole world. Same happened with Romans. Every single empire, right, was heavily dependent on actual people being part of it. Now, if you look at the current situation, you have China and India, which obviously have the biggest land and have by far the most populated countries around the planet. So technically, looking back, would mean these two are absolute future empires. Forget about their current situation, economies, and military, everything, based on that. And it's great for them. But I think there's a bigger problem right here. So if we follow the previous argument about tech taking our jobs, being China or India puts you in a very disadvantaged position, because if in reality half of your country is going to lose your jobs within 5 years, what are you going to do with that? You can't leave people with no purpose, right? You have to feed them. And that job purpose, the only job's purpose, most of it, is just to actually keep you busy, pay you funny money so you can pay your bills, get food, and just stay occupied so you don't do stupid things, right? Like I'm simplifying it, but in short, let's just say, right? So to say. So if you're in China and half of your population has got no jobs, what are you going to do? You can't keep them. You have to feed them. You have to provide the food and reason for them to be alive, to actually function. You can't do it. I mean, I don't know, UBI, universal basic income, maybe to some degree, but it can't. So if the most populated countries, according to this current narrative about tech replacing everything, are actually in the most disadvantageous position, why are we still calling population collapse a crisis? Now, it can sit into some narratives, right? Conspiracy theories, which probably are not so much conspiracy, when you have people just being, to some degree, replaced. You have people coming in from places they would never want to come even, or they don't know why they're coming, and they've been just dumped on everyone else, saying like, yeah, we need that, because we want a growth. And then you have this lie about what growth is. And the lie would go like, we need more homes, we need more technology progress, we need more money, we need more jobs. Like that's what typical politicians say, right? But it's like, hang on, why do we need all these things if population is collapsing? Right? And if it's not collapsing, then why do we say it is collapsing? But I think it is collapsing because very few people have families around, right? There's very few families, young families with kids. So this is something I am not, like, do you know what I'm saying here? Can you see it? Do you have an idea what actually is happening? Why we have these two contradicting messages being sent at the same time? It cannot, I don't think it's just to justify immigration, because these things are happening all over the world. There's not enough people in the world to replace from one place to another one, because you would leave continents empty or something? Like that makes no sense. But why being told these lies? Like there was this report I read from Credit Agricole in Poland. Apparently they warning now that properties in Poland will they'll be basically worthless in about 20 years because of the population crisis or declined population, where there'll be not enough people willing to rent a house. And they're warning it as a big warning. It's like there's a big warning, like, oh my God, we must not allow this to happen. And I'm just like, hang on, why not? I mean, we have population of people, like homeless people. We have people my age and younger, from my age, everyone down pretty much, cannot afford any properties, not even small flats. How is this wrong if you look as a society? How is it not good to have actually properties valued at nothing or very little, so we can keep everything to balance? Because eventually we'll balance it out. There'll be more people will have homes, I don't know, some stability, probably have more kids, then there will be more properties will be built, demand and supply, right? But no, they're warning that with the population collapse, prices of properties will go down, and therefore it's a big problem. But if there's no population, what does it matter? The current, I find it so interesting if you think about it. It's like contradicting ideas. Basically, 20th century thinking about the economy, the model for growth, met with 21st century problems and challenges and opportunities to some degree, like a tech. And they're trying to picture it as a one, rather than say, hey guys, okay, one means rise of technology and decline of population might be good. You can't have both. You can't have rise in technology and rise in population, because then you're not going to be able to deal with what you're going to do with the population. I'm having a problem with that, right? So it's like, the properties, the price of the property, it's been increasing over the decades, right? And I understand basics of economy. I know how it works. But if you think about the actual growth, the actual value behind the property has not changed apart from just increased number of people potentially fighting for that property. It's the same building built, 50 or 100 years ago, from the same materials, in the same place. And just by now, it has not increased in any meaningful value, right? It's the same as you have this fake economy or the pension scheme system, where just by adding more money and by adding more people into the system, we make more growth and therefore more valuable the system. And that's why now everybody's panicking, because we're not having enough people to in, and that means the system will implode. And I say, excellent. I think we should not have this system in the first place. Anyways, it's like, the system is anti-human. It makes everyone's really miserable. It does not provide, and it was built, I don't know, like let's say 100 years ago, and it worked for some time. But then obviously we lost the connections with the basic of the foundation of the monetary system and the capitalism, and it basically became this zombie mutated capitalism, or whatever we call it now, which doesn't work for anyone apart from like 1% of the most wealthiest, right? So I don't actually think that the population decline, and it's a voluntarily, majority of people, younger people, deciding not to have kids, okay, it's their choice. They probably will regret it at later stage in their lives, but that's the way. Like, there will be a problem. It's like, what do we do with the elderly at some point? Because who's going to look after them? But if we're talking about 30 or 40 years, I would imagine there'll be some sort of tech which will support us by that time. But nobody's thinking about this way. We are thinking about the problems which will occur in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, and we're looking at the current situation, or we're looking at what it will affect based on today's economy, which is there's no way that economy, that system will carry on. It can survive and carry on for another 3, 4 decades. It just cannot. As I explained, it's a Ponzi scheme. If you have no more people coming in, a system collapses, no matter what. You can print money as much as you want, but eventually that money becomes worthless. And that's what we're starting to see right now. So that is my kind of question for you. Why do we say we have a population decline crisis? And at the same time, we're saying that the AI tech and, robots, whatever, will replace more than half of us in the next few years. It makes no sense. And this is coming from the smartest people here, right? It's like, I refuse. Look, you have to accept that Elon Musk is an absolute genius, right? You might not like him, doesn't matter. A smart person, I'm not talking about super smart, the average smart person would be able to hold two opposing views, right? Saying, I don't like him, but still the smartest guy I know. It can still be held in one hand, right? In your one head. So even if you don't like him, if you build the 3 most successful and most valuable companies around the planet, that is a huge achievement. And if you ever build a business, and I have built businesses, most of them failed, you know what it takes to build a successful business, not to mention 3 of them, not to mention the 3 most successful businesses around the planet, okay? But what I'm saying is, if he knows, he's much more smarter than you and me. So why is he saying that the population decline is a crisis, while at the same time working on this XAI and the robots and rockets? And I think he's saying, right, the Optimus robots will be like million produced every year or something, like in the very near future. It's something I don't get it, right? It's like, I was advocating for, hey, we need more kids, more families. I still do. I think more people would do themselves a favor if they actually have families. Long term, it's very difficult now, and expensive, but it's a long term net positive. But I don't think I am anymore the guy of saying like a population decline is a terrible thing. And even if it's like country-wise, okay, we're gonna have more empty properties. That's fine. They will decay, whatever. Like we will figure out. It's like it's not gonna be like one day we just walk up and say, hey, half of the properties are empty. How did that happen? No, it's a gradual process. Right? It's going to be more and more. And then we will come up with ideas, there'll be tech, there's a progress, right? Progress doesn't happen only because of more people are being born or something. It just happens. So that's one thing. And the other thing is just because you drop, I don't know, let's say you take empty one continent and you drop, you know which one I'm talking about, and you drop all these people from that continent to Europe. It does not solve anything apart from just basically stitching up the Europe, destroying the rest of it, whatever is left, right? Because these people would not come here with the mindset, oh, I'm coming here to start families and have lots of babies, right? And save the planet. No, they would be like, oh, I'm here to get some money. And therefore, I don't even have to do much because the government is giving me the money. And then, like I said, like you can't just, if you have one here, and if you take one from this side, put it on this one, doesn't mean there's 3 here or something. It's like you've got still 2 in total. Doesn't matter how much you shuffle it, it's still the same amount. Net, it's the same. You're not creating anything. You're not creating net positive growth for the people. The same goes with the economy, with the value of properties, with all this fake system we built around ourselves, we actually became part of. And I feel like we are actually, we imprisoned in it, right? And the elites think they need to protect it under whatever it takes, for whatever it costs. But I say it's impossible to protect it, and the message we're being sent from the elites are contradicting themselves. So I'm asking you now, like, where's the logic here? Where is the actual logic? Is it? I don't think the population decrease is a massive crisis. It will trigger problems, agreed. I am also not the one who's saying there's not enough room for more people. It's like nothing like it. I think there's plenty of room for, well, probably triple the population. Again, because you have to think. It's like people saying we can't have more population because there's no food. They never take into this consideration. They never talk about it. Like, hey, how about in 10 years you're going to have way better technologies to grow food, etc. Right? It's like it's not one thing only. You can't have one growth and nothing else. Everything else stagnant. Like that's not how it works. It doesn't work with the growth or with decline. It doesn't happen if properties goes to 0 and we have the exactly same problems everywhere, same system, and now what do we do? So this is what I'm asking you now, and this is what I've noticed. What are they talking about? Why are the smartest people saying there's this problem and there's a solution which they own building? For what? Just to replace people? I don't know. That could be. I think that could have been done much easier without all this nonsense around. I am not sure, like, why a person like Elon Musk would be saying this. Why do we need more people? And I'm not saying we can't. I'm saying we can have more people, we should, but why do we? I have no actual answer apart from like to keep the system going, but that system will not be able to go for that long anyway. So again, I'm going back to my question, why do we need more people? Let me know, what do you think? Yeah, I'll leave it to you. But let me know what you think. But yes, the government's hijacked the message, but they are obviously the least intelligent, I think, or at least the message is trying to tell everybody else this is a solution to a problem, which is obviously a lie. It's the most obvious lie out of all the lies. And bringing immigrants to any country doesn't solve any problems. And I think this is what actually new Prime Minister of Japan said, right? It's like she would rather see population declining in her country rather than just replacing it with population which will basically make this culture and country go away, which makes sense. But again, it's like, what's wrong with that, right? With declining population. What's wrong? I don't know. I don't think anything wrong, really. Let me know what you think in your comments. If you like this video, please leave me a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Cheers.